Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Hangout on Air. My name is Kim Bitch, and I blog at The Educator's Spin on It. It's a site for parents where we take everyday moments and turn them into learning opportunities. And now through Hangouts, I'm taking kind of moments as adults and turning them into learning opportunities. Today, we're going to be talking about oats. I have a special guest, Kathy Hester, who's written a book called OATrageous Oatmeals. She's created an entire cookbook based on just that, on oatmeal. So appetizers, desserts, breakfast, lunch, dinner, she's got you covered. There's even a drink in there, I think. So Kathy, why don't you go ahead and say hello to everybody and tell us a little bit about you.
Hi, it's so great to be here. This is my fourth book, OATrageous Oatmeals, and I started out doing a lot of slow cooker meals as well. So I really like to make recipes that are family friendly, easy to make, and most of them use ingredients that you can get in the supermarket as well. And I blog at healthyslowcooking.com.
So don't do it now, but go check out her site. It has so many great recipes on it. And go ahead and tell us the other books that you've also written, cookbooks.
Sure. My very first book was The Vegan Slow Cooker, which started everything off. Then I have the Great Vegan Bean book, which is all things beans. And much like the oat book, it has some unusual things like black bean fudgesicles.
I love it.
Yeah. I figured if you can make black bean brownies, why not black bean fudgesicles? And it worked.
I will have to try that out.
I experiment so you don't have to.
Love it. And anything we talk about today, we'll be sure to leave a link in the event page for everybody to find after the fact. Because I know if you're like me, we're going to leave hungry and want to figure out a recipe of what to start with. So what made you start writing this cookbook specifically?
The good and the bad thing about me is I can be a little obsessive about things. So when I realized that on my blog I had 40 different slow cooker oatmeals, I thought it was time to do something about it. And so when I started writing the proposal, I realized I didn't want it just to be breakfast oatmeals. I wanted it to be much larger, since oats really, they're a grain, just like any other grain, so they don't have to be relegated to just a few uses. And that's when I started experimenting and made steel-cut oat risotto and steel-cut oat tacos and some fun things like that that don't look like oatmeal at all. It looks like the real thing.
I know when you first told me, we met at the Food and Wine Conference this summer, and you were telling me about your upcoming book, and my head was spinning going, I don't know how that will work, but I'm sure she'll figure it out. Because I know if anyone's watching, they're kind of like me. We do typically breakfast, or maybe we'll throw them into a cookie here or there kind of thing, or maybe into our muffins. So here, I should show you guys. Here's her book, Outrageous Oatmeal. And I was like amazed when I flipped through the book, and I'm like, she's got every part of the day covered, incorporating the grains. So I'm going to confess I don't know a whole lot about the specific grain, and I want you to kind of walk through the beginning of your book and tell us the different types that you did incorporate into the recipes.
Sure. Oats, we all know, is a whole grain, but what's kind of interesting is even oat groats, which is the wholest kind of oats that we can buy, has a hull removed from it. So a lot of grains, there's an inedible part that is removed. So an oat groat, you could think of it kind of like barley or farro or something that's really going to, wheat berries is another great comparison because they cook a long time to get soft. Mm-hmm. So those are great to throw maybe a handful in some super stew when you're cooking in your slow cooker, and which you're going to do a lot, I'm sure. And then the next ones down are steel-cut oats, and basically that's an oat groat that's been chopped into 2 to 3 pieces with a piece of steel, which is why they're steel-cut oats. Then there's rolled oats, and rolled oats are whole oats that are steamed and then rolled over. So they, in a way, they're the most processed of the oats, but it has exactly the same nutritional components that a steel-cut oat or an oat groat does. So whatever oats you incorporate, you're getting really great nutrition.
As a busy mom, would that be more the one you might use a little bit more when you're trying to get things ready quickly rather than?
If you wanted to just cook it up on the stove really quick,
Mhm.
rolled oats would probably be your go-to. Rolled oats are also the cheapest,
Okay.
and so that's always nice to have those in the pantry. There is kind of an in-between rolled oats and steel-cut oats that sometimes they call quick steel-cut oats, which is wrong. Because actually they're milled, so like between two stones. So if you open them up, it looks a little bit like instant oatmeal meets cracked wheat or something. So it has teeny tiny ones and a little bit bigger ones, and that cooks probably within 10 minutes on the stovetop as well.
Okay.
But steel-cut oats you can put in to make your oatmeal the night before, and then you wake up, and that's the best thing for a busy mom.
I agree. I know when I opened your book, you had some of the overnight refrigerator recipes. I wanted you to tell us, like, if anyone's like me, like my kids we're rushing, we're getting out the door, maybe they didn't wake up enough, or even my husband doesn't wake up enough, like on time getting them out the door and eating breakfast. So can you tell me some of those recipes that you created for that overnight breakfast, basically?
Sure, I did a strawberry and cream, and you can use frozen strawberries with that, so it's a real treat, like come December. My very favorite one is the blackberry mojito overnight oats. So it has blackberries and fresh mint, and it does have like a quarter teaspoon or a half teaspoon of rum in it, which obviously you can use rum extract.
Right, for the flavoring. You make a children's version and perhaps an adult version for a special little brunch or something. Yeah.
Right. And actually, that's a good point. If you're going to use vanilla in some of the breakfast things that aren't cooking, you might want to go ahead and buy non-alcoholic vanilla.
Thank you for that tip.
Because actually, rum has less alcohol content than some vanillas do.
Which is crazy. I recently found that out too. I'm like, we don't think about these things. We need to pay more attention. So thank you for that.
So it makes it less bad that you're putting a little bit of rum in, because you're still doing better than a regular vanilla. And some of these overnight oats contain a yogurt to kind of thicken them, and they become very rich and thick and pudding-like.
Kathy, I know you have some of your recipes pulled up on your computer. Do you want to share a picture of that one? Because it's really looks scrumptious and gorgeous if we can do it. If not, it's not a problem.
I think we can.
I made her pull up all of her recipes ahead of time for on the board so she can click and pull them up and hopefully show us. Because I know if you're like me, your head's kind of going, how does that work exactly? Let me see how it works. So
Oh, there we go.
I think we've got it. Maybe not.
We do. There we go. So that's the mojito oats.
Look at that, how gorgeous it is. So I just blown away. Like that's a great way to incorporate oats into your breakfast. Now, what type of oat went into this one?
That would be rolled oats.
Okay.
And those are the ones I like to use on overnight oats more, just because you know they're going to soften up enough. A lot of people do use steel-cut oats in their overnight oats, but I find it too chewy for me personally. The same thing, if you cook steel-cut oats overnight in the slow cooker, it's going to have a slightly different texture than if you cook them on the stove. So if you have a picky eater, you'll notice soon which one you can make and which one you can't make.
Now, I know you have a picky eater at home with you for many years now. Do you have some in the book that were her favorite?
I do. She really loved the taco filling with the steel-cut oats and sausage spice, or not sausage, Mexican taco spices, and kidney beans. And one of the tricks in there and I do this in a lot of soups and stews as well, I mince kale or collard greens, but mince it where it looks like parsley. And you can mince up a whole bunch and then store it in the fridge, and you can sprinkle it on everything, and they don't know.
I love it. Will you pull up that picture of the taco for me? Because some of you guys might know my family's Indian, so I have my mother-in-law with me quite a bit living with us. So I'm always looking for vegetarian ideas, particularly vegan recipes for her. So let's look at these tacos. like your kids would never know you're doing a whole nother alternative. So, because, we like to change it up a bit. So that looks gorgeous. You're
Yeah.
going to make us all hungry today looking at all these pictures.
And it's really easy to make, and you can make extras of this and freeze it for a time that you just don't have enough time to cook. I'm big on any leftovers go in the freezer so they can get pulled out again.
Right. And I imagine it'd make a great wrap, too, for kind of on the go in a lunchbox, too.
Oh, it really, really would. And what happens with dishes like this is the oats get cooked probably 3/4 of the way on the stove, not so much that they're mushy again, but so that they're soft to the tooth, and then you're ending up kind of stir-frying them with all these other different things.
Right. The power of spices, I think, can alter lots of different things, right?
Oh, absolutely. Well, and I'm kind of an Indian food lover. And so
I have to tell you guys, yeah, we got the book, and my daughter, was flipping through trying to figure out what we were going to make first from it, and she stopped and said, "Mom, there's Indian food in here." And we'll get Indian recipe books, but just in your typical cookbooks, there's not a lot of Indian recipes, and we spend a lot of our days eating them. And this one, I think I asked you which one was your favorite, and I'll have to show you guys too if I can get it up. What is this one called?
Indian spiced tomato soup.
Indian spiced tomato soup, and I love that you even have the chapati there at the side, which you even have a recipe for in the book too.
Yeah, I have an oat roti recipe.
Oat roti. So roti and chapati are the same thing. Just it kind of depends on where you are and what you call it. So my girls were excited, and I think you've got around 6 different Indian recipes in here.
So I do have just a plain old yellow dal that I cook with rolled oats, and the rolled oats just kind of mush into everything. So they add that fiber and nutrition, but they don't make it really that much different in a weird way.
Good.
I do an oats upma, so it's kind of like an Indian stir-fried oats, and one of my favorite things is the oat dosa, which is like a rava dosa, and for people who don't know, rava is kind of like cream of wheat, and so basically it makes this pancake that's lacy, that's crispy crunchy with little spices in it, and it's so yummy, and it's so easy to make at home.
I love it. So yeah, so many different countries you've also brought in too to the book. I know we just talked about tacos, now we're talking about Indian, and then you mentioned there's a couple recipes from Scotland kind of inspired too.
There is, excuse me, dog toy. One of the things is a Scottish-inspired mushroom stew, and the Scots seem to really dig their oats. They even have a special New Year's drink that's made usually with milk, oats, and whiskey, and so I based my vegan oat cream liqueur off of that. And it's a traditional drink that's drank every New Year's Eve.
Huh, little fact we all need to know now. I love it.
And there's some mushroom congee that's kind of an Asian, and congee is a real thick porridge-like stew that's savory and has like bright bits of ginger and in little hints of yumminess all over the place. And it's really great if you have a stomach ache or you're not feeling so well. And this is really easy to make.
I love that in the book you also managed to include some gluten-free and soy-free recipes too, right? Do you have a special indicator in it so people will know?
I do, and I think in this book there are only 2 recipes that don't have a gluten-free option, though they probably could be made gluten-free. I just didn't have time to test them in the gluten-free way.
Right.
I try to always, like if I have tofu, to have some sort of other alternative. Like if you found a recipe you really liked with tofu and you don't like soy or you're allergic, chickpeas are a really great substitute. And the same thing with gluten. Unless you're using seitan, which is wheat gluten, which no one who is gluten intolerant should ever have in their house. Even with that, then you can kind of substitute tofu or, again, substitute some chickpeas. There are also some recipes that are marked no oil added. That doesn't mean there's no fat in the recipe, but it means that actual refined oil hasn't been added or there's an option. I try to make it accessible for everybody.
And I love that you kind of incorporated varying levels of sweetener into the recipes. What were some of the ones that you used? I know they vary.
Yeah, I use stevia, and the brand of stevia I like is New Naturals. And one of the reasons I like that stevia in particular is they have an extra ingredient that makes it not bitter. So if you've had stevia before and you thought, oh God, that's disgusting, A, you put too much in. So I have this container that's about this big that I've been using for 3 years.
You don't have to buy in bulk. You can buy a small quantity and it will last.
Even with muffins, sometimes you're only using a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of stevia for a dozen muffins. So, and it gets kind of tricky. If you have the liquid stevia and you're trying it maybe in your coffee, you want to try 1 drop at a time and to see where you like it.
Mm-hmm.
And each brand of stevia is very different. Another sweetener that I've been using a lot is coconut sugar, and that's more of like the new cool thing the paleo people have brought up is kind of more coconut products. And it's a lot like brown sugar, and you could use brown sugar instead of coconut sugar.
Okay.
And if you had another sweetener that you like, maybe agave or maple syrup or monk fruit, every day there's some new crazy sweetener out there. You can always sweeten things to taste, even baked goods. And what you want to do is just kind of put probably about half of the amount you think you'll need, taste it, see if that was enough, and then keep going. So whenever I get a new sweetener that I'm trying in recipes, that's what I do. Because it's kind of this trend that whatever sweetener is cool this year is really uncool next year.
Right.
I don't know if you've noticed that there's a little bit.
I like to be diverse and do it all different ways because they can change the whole entire way it ends at the end. So.
And it's true. And some people have dietary reasons to not have sugar. Maybe they're diabetic, or they have candida, or some other thing like that. So any sweetener can work, especially in the oatmeals, like the cold oatmeals. That's a great place to start experimenting with weird sweeteners.
Right. Well, those that know me know I typically talk about kids quite a bit, and we haven't really yet talked about them. So I wanted to kind of pull up some of your recipes that we think would be great for kids and busy families, and also one that might be really fun to make with your child. Do you have one that comes to mind?
Do you want to do the making the one with the kids first?
Yeah, let's start with that one, which actually I think I flagged in here.
And I'll share the photo of it too.
Even better.
It's a really pretty photo. And so what those are is they're turtle oat truffles.
Ooh, look at those.
And so, I have kind of a Girl Scout cookie oatmeal, another place in the book where you make a date caramel. So if you just take dates, soak them with water, and puree it with a little bit of vanilla, it actually tastes like caramel. And it's a sweetener so far no one has turned down. And so what we do is we take that same caramel sauce, but we make a little thicker version of it. And we take that and we have pecans and chocolate chips and rolled oats, and those get kind of separately made in the food processor. And then you can roll them together and make those little balls and pick if you want to roll them in coconut or cocoa powder. You could even roll them in crushed nuts, just really anything you wanted to do, and you get super messy. It's fun.
No, the kids would love rolling them out. And I see it as a way to incorporate other things that you know they love to kind of work it in. So these look like so much fun to make with the kids.
And if your kid has a nut allergy, you could easily make them without the nuts.
Mm-hmm. Great tips. Makes me want to go make afternoon snack right now.
Hey.
These would be perfect to come home from school and make together. And do they chill before you eat them, or they're ready to go the moment you're done?
They do chill before you eat them a little bit because as you're making the caramel, it gets a little bit squishy.
Oh, warm, right.
So it needs to set up just a little bit. The burgers would be a really good kid favorite too, and they could help you patty them out. Let me show you the burger recipe. And
burgers. I
And
can't wait to see this one.
it's pretty silly because the name of it is Burgers of Beanalicious Goodness or something like
So
that.
what did you incorporate into the burgers?
There's oats, there's some chopped up vegetables, there's beans, and it's so easy. Really, you're just throwing together some ingredients. The first time I made it, I think it took 10 minutes to get everything together. And what I do is I bake them.
Oh, I would never have thought of that.
And I do that with a lot of patties. And part of the reason is you can make a whole lot of them in the oven, whereas on the stovetop you can only make a certain amount at a time. And if I make extra ones, I probably bake it for about 20 minutes, flip them over, put them back in for like another 10 to 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a dozen, then you can put some in the freezer for later.
I love it. I kind of am thinking as I'm looking at this that does it transfer well into kind of meatballs too, perhaps?
It should, yeah. It really would probably be a great meatball.
We have a little recipe on our site of spider meatballs. I was just thinking for Halloween, where you put in the little chow mein noodles for the legs and like just another healthy way. Our recipe just has vegetables in it. So I love the fact that now you're talking about beans and oats. And
Right. If you
trying to like sneak in as many good things as you can without your kids really realizing or having them. It's kind of, I've noticed my kids eat more if they're the ones who have added all the fun things into it. Like it's just kind of a mystery game that they're a part of now. So.
And another trick is if you mince things. In my cookbooks, you always see minced onions. It's because Cheryl will pick out the onions, like out of a.
So you disclose them, and then my brother-in-law does not like to know his onions are there, so I have to eat her at home that way too.
Right. And yeah. It's kind of funny.
And
yeah.
That's a fun way to get kids involved too, as long as they're safe and hands out. I have them throw all the stuff in for me. We hop on the lid, and they're my button pusher. But again, those are the things you teach your child to do with you. But I think the more you can get them hands-on and having fun, the more they're likely to try the things that you're cooking when they have some ownership in what's going on. It's helped a lot in our family.
I think that's great. I'm trying to find another oatmeal to show you all because like it's perfect too to do the slow cooker oats with your kids because literally you're throwing everything in the slow cooker and then you're just pushing a button and waiting until in the morning so nothing's even hot. And this is a really great one. It is actually a lemon raspberry oatmeal.
Okay.
And so the topping, I call it an icing. So I do a lot of oatmeal cakes. So on my blog I have banana pudding and hummingbird cake, and they're all still healthy. And the icings are made out of a vanilla yogurt, raspberry yogurt that you put over the top, and it makes it seem way more fun than just a bowl.
Right. It's like a special treat or something. I love it. That's a great idea. Before I forget, I know I wanted to do well, now I can't find it. I wanted to do a screen share of your site, but I can't find it now, so I'm not going to do that anymore. I just wanted to encourage everybody to stop over onto her site for a whole bunch of other recipes too. As she said, how many oatmeal recipes do you have on there before you realized it was time to?
Probably about 40, and I'll share this.
Oh, she's got one more for us. Or not?
Oh, I'm going to share the blog really quick.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if you search oatmeal, you'll get a whole lot of stuff. So that's.
Yeah, Kathy's site kind of started out focused more on slow cooking, but you've got all sorts of recipes on this site. It's not just narrowly focused to that now.
Oh,
There's
absolutely.
a whole bunch of different recipes to test out and try with your family. Just great resource. Bookmark it, keep it, pin it onto your recipe board. I did say on our event page, like, come share your recipe boards with us. I love discovering new recipe boards that people are creating on Pinterest. I know on the event page, I shared your boards on there. They're amazing, so I want you guys to go check them out. It's where I find a lot of our pins from to put onto our recipe boards. So make sure you're following Kathy on Pinterest, and I know you're hopefully following us on Pinterest, and come share yours too, because I think Pinterest can be, although we all joke it's a time suck, I think it's a great time saver if somebody else has already done all the search for you. So that's my little tip of the day. Take advantage of other people's searches.
That's a good tip.
We are going to give away a copy of your book, right, Kathy?
Absolutely.
So it's going to come up this weekend on our site on Saturday, the giveaway, and I'll post it on the event page too, to enter to win a copy, your very own copy of Outrageous Oatmeals. I love the title. I think it's great. Any last thoughts as we leave?
Just make sure that you're cooking some oats for tomorrow. And if you're not sure what to do, come to my blog. I have some recipes from the book as well, and I know, Kim, that you're putting up a recipe from the book.
We are. Waffles, I believe, is what I'm putting up. And actually, Amanda is sharing something. That's the one on Saturday. I don't remember. It's a mystery, the one she's going to share too.
And you have to check that out just to find out.
I know. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come share with us and teach us a little bit more about incorporating this healthy grain into our daily meals. So I hope everybody checks out your book, and thank you so much for being here.
Oh, you're welcome. And if anybody has any questions about oats, if you go to my site, Healthy Slow Cooking, you can contact me through the contact form, or any comments will come straight to me. So I'd be glad to help you sort your oat issues out.
I love it. And feel free to leave comments on the event page too, where everyone can see them. And for more ideas for cooking with kids, we have a whole tab you can click on our site called Cooking with Kids. And we try to incorporate books and crafts and stuff into the whole thing too. So look for one soon about oatmeal. I see it coming. Thank you so much, and we'll see you guys next week, Thursday at 11:30. Thank you so much. Bye.